Welcome to another episode of Jay Helps the VA. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the CHAMPVA Part 2. Well, CHAMPVA is actually got a pretty considerable breadth of information that needs to be conveyed. And so it requires unpacking it a little bit at a time. And last week episode was concerned with eligibility requirements, as it were. In this episode, we're going to be focused on enrollment. Now, this gets very much confused, and people get very disenfranchised because they're told one thing and given other information, or they hear something and it's not the complete story. Or so again, that's the purpose of Jay Helps the VA, serving those who served, their spouses, their caregivers, and their children. That these videos are in regards to, you know, trying to demystify some of these processes and make it a little bit more user friendly, and try to connect the dots for you good folks, because there's not a lot of resources out there. The information's out there, but first point contact folks, that you're able to touch base with, whether they're in a VA medical center or an outpatient center or Veterans Health Administration building. A lot of people are not very familiar with CHAMPVA, um, and then they don't understand sometimes some of the uh, things that are required to get on board, as well as how to speed up the process, because there's always a wait, right? So in this episode, we're going to break down enrollment, but the next episode, what I'm going to do is try to print up a couple of copies of the actual enrollment forms, the ones I'm going to talk about here in just a minute. And I think I'll just do a short little snippet maybe next week, and it's going to be covering how to fill out the documents, because sometimes they're not filled out correctly. So if I can show you on the a firsthand account of how to fill them out correctly, then hopefully then we're getting it across the finish line with you know some room to spare, right? So we're not getting, running into, oh, you forgot this, or oh, you didn't do that. I'll break it down for you so that you can navigate, all of these different procedures. So CHAMPVA, what is CHAMPVA? Well, I covered it last weekend again. Civilian health insurance for surviving spouses, their children, sometimes caregivers, sometimes if the child is in a bad situation, they had received helpless child status. That's another status that a surviving spouse or child or dependent of a veteran that has a permanent and total disability award, that they're able to also get that status, that CHAMPVA status of eligible active, but it's under a different connotation. So caregiver is caregiver. We've got regular CHAMPVA beneficiaries. There's caregiver, regular CHAMPVA beneficiaries, and then there is the helpless child designation. So, I'll probably have to unpack all of these topics, just like I'm going to have to unpack this particular topic. So I'm going to keep it brief. Last one was kind of getting a little bit lengthy. I'm trying to keep these somewhat small so that, we touch all the keystones that are necessary to accomplish mission, and that we keep it brief enough that I don't lose you with too much information. So, how to apply? Well, there's a couple of ways to apply, but I like to talk about timelines first. So you're going to apply. We're going to get documents in the door. So what I'm going to talk about today for purposes of enrollment is the timeline. And I'll give you a current timeline, like a correct timeline, not the one that they put out there and superimpose. Okay, so like a current one based on my experience working for the Veterans Administration. I'll talk about required documents. There's two different versions. There's the required documents, then there is optional documents that can expedite the process. So we're going to walk it down. All right, ready to go. Again, I'm Jay. Jay helps the VA. We're just breaking this down one little piece at a time for you good folks. So first, timeline. If you provide all the required documents and optional documents, and the application is actually complete, then they give an approximation of 6 weeks. Unfortunately, that's not a current turnaround time because they're only giving you application input date and then turnaround time upon constructing a beneficiary profile and then sending out the corresponding information. As far as true turnaround times, so there's two working numbers. The application input date. So for instance, we're putting in 10/7 of 20, and what is today? 12/10. So we're almost 2 months behind on application input date. There's like 3,703 applications in front of anybody that's waiting. That's as of today's date, right? 12/10/20. Then there is the mail room. So you can send these documents in two ways, by mail or by fax. The preferable method is going to be by fax. Okay, so I'll explain that in just a minute. So timeline. So if you submit the provided required documents and then the optional documents, and your documents are completed and signed and all submitted together, then you have, they say 6 weeks. That's, again, not a fair timeline. I just gave you the 2-month turnaround time based on today's date, and that doesn't include the mail opening date. So we're opening mail from 11/2. Today is 12/10. As of today's date, like I said, 12/10/20. We're 38 days in the hole on the mail. So there's two different working numbers. There's the mail, and then there's the input date, right? So that could almost be 90 days. So these numbers can be parsed out from an agent from CHAMPVA if you call them and you're trying to get real-time information. So these are just based on today, okay? So if you provide only the required documents, so we're not providing the optional, so we're just talking only the required, then they say it's 2 to 8 months since they have to confirm eligibility and other information with other federal agencies. Again, this is based on their website. This isn't my personal experience. I think I've made mention that I work for the Veterans Administration. I know these timelines. So technically, so it's 2 months to put it in, but there's 38 days in the mailroom. So look at it that way, 98 days in the hole. So when we're receiving faxed documents, so we go faxed versus mailed version, right? So we don't want to wait in the mail room. We want to send it by fax. So that's always my highest recommendation. Before I close this video, I'll include both fax numbers. Now, so when they advance these turnaround times on their own website, they're not providing the guidance on the mail room. When a fax is sent in, when they're speaking to an agent on the phone, hey, did you get my application? I sent it by fax. We're going to advance the mail opening date, right? So that's 38 days. That is not like a trajectory of a fax. So that being said, then, what do we work with? I recommend, and this is my experience with the Veterans Administration, we want to give it 2 weeks. We send it out, give it 2 weeks, call back CHAMPVA. Their number is 800-733-8387. You call them and you talk to an agent and just say, hey, did you get it okay? You want to fire these documents off, but it's not fire and forget. We're going to get them out the door. We want to qualify they were received. Otherwise, how do we know? We don't just get a warm fuzzy. Just like a courtesy text message. You need to field or qualify said attempt was received either by mail or by fax. That's the best practices, okay? That's my personal experience. That will ensure success. So let's talk about required documents and optional documents, and then I'll enclose with the fax number, the mailing address, and like I said, the best avenue is success. So required documents. There's the initial CHAMPVA application form. So application for CHAMPVA benefits. It's a 10-10 D as in Delta. Now, next week when I do this episode, I'm going to be bringing the documents along and I'm going to show you how to fill them out on episode 3 of CHAMPVA from Jay Helps the VA. Today, we're just talking about requirements, how to get these docs in the door, and then for those folks that just need a little extra help, I'll be showing or walking down how to fill out the docs. So we need the application. So it's a 10-10 D as in Delta, right? So it's a 1-page document, very simple. I'll explain how to fill it out next week. Then there is the other health insurance, OHI for short, other health insurance certification form. There's a Spanish version if you're looking for it online. So if you speak Spanish, there's a Spanish version, so it's translated. Otherwise, there's the regular English version. That document or VA form 10-7959 C as in Charlie. So those are the two documents that we send in if we're sending only required. Okay, if we want to speed it up or expedite the process, here's what they talk about. So the veteran that you're qualifying under, whether you're a surviving spouse or a child, or however that they arrive at your beneficiary determination, the VA or the VBA rating decision, okay, so the Veteran Benefits Administration is going to be, it's like DEERS. So they put out what's it's called the Permanent and Total Disability Award Letter. Okay, so it's when the veteran gets to this, level of disability, it's called a permanent and total. That's for qualification purposes. By getting to that level, there's a letter. That letter comes out. DEERS has the letter. We don't have the letter. So to expedite the process, enclosing the letter, and I've heard from my leads, all of it, not just the one part of the letter that says permanent and total. The whole thing. So you would source that. You can get it through a Veteran Services Officer or other avenues, if you have access to the e-benefits health. So the other optional documents are the Veterans DD-214, so the Certificate of Release from Active Duty. There's also, if you're a remarried widow, so you had the CHAMPVA once, you're getting it back again. You are single and wish to reestablish CHAMPVA eligibility, you'll need a certificate of or a divorce decree. Okay, so last things would be if you have children, then it's birth certificates, adoption papers if adopted children, school certification if it's a child that's over the age of 18 wanting to have or maintain the CHAMPVA eligibility after the age of 18 up until the day before they turn 23. School certification. I'm going to be unpacking that topic eventually as well. How to get them, how to send them in, where to get them from, all of that. So that's it in a nutshell. Those documents we want to send in. Where do we send them? So there's two places. We've got the two fax numbers, area code 303-331-7809, primary fax. Secondary or overflow, same area code, 303-370-7710. That's the secondary or overflow. Highly recommend if you're sending your documents into both faxes, ensuring success. Also, giving you better odds of success as opposed to 1 chance in 10, 2 chances in 10. Lastly, there's the snail mail way we can send it into CHAMPVA eligibility, and then we're going to send that into P.O. Box 469028, and then that's Denver, Colorado 80249-9028. So that's the eligibility. So we want to be able to send it in by snail mail. I really discourage it. It's 38 days behind folks who's trying to get it in by fax. As always, I represent the Team River Runner behind me, Veterans 501c Corporation, helping veterans on the river to recovery. I'm involved with that 501c helping veterans, so I always try to push them, give them some visibility. I'm Jay. Jay helps the VA. Got to keep these brief, or they're not, you lose track and you guys get disinterested. So I try to keep it topic specific. Another episode next Thursday. We'll talk about filling out applications, how to get them in the door. Further analysis of other documents needs to be unpacked, like the school cert. Those will follow. So I'm Jay. Jay helps the VA, serving those who served. Don't hesitate, like, subscribe, share with other veterans, their wives, their caregivers, their spouses, and their children. This helps everybody. That's what I'm here to do, is help everybody. Thanks again. I'm Jay. Talk to you again soon.